Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today, we're going to begin on Yud Ches Amud Aleph, the very top line. So we were learning, when it came to the introduction of our second parak, there is a time in which a person could say a migu or a pesh aser who pesh hitter. In the event that he goes to someone and says that this field, I purchased it from your father. So since you said something which the person had no idea, so the din is that now that you clarified your words, so you're believed. So on this, the Gemara says as follows. They ask the following. It says, "Listnei moed Rabbi Yeshua." Why doesn't it say the case a little bit differently? Say that Rabbi Yeshua agrees, he says that there was $100 I borrowed from you, and I paid you back. So he never had a taina that you owed me money. So this person never had any claim. And you walked up and said, yeah, you know what? I did owe you money, but I paid you back. So that's another case of Pesha or Pesha. Why doesn't he say that? He says, you're right. Technically, that would work, but the problem is the end part of our Mishnah. Misham de Kabbalah Mishneh Seifa. Imish Edim Shuloivim Imenu. Let's say there was witnesses that he borrowed the money, v'hu oimer prativ, and he says, well, I already paid you back, then you would have to say that the case would be enu nemon, but it's not true. But the din is that even though you borrow money with witnesses, you don't have to pay back with witnesses. And therefore, because of that, it wouldn't fit into the sefer, that's why we can't mention this case. Okay, so listening, why don't we learn a different case? Modeh Rabbi Yeshua ba'omer chavero. A person says to his friend, "Mana lavicha biyadi." There was $100 that belonged to your father, and it's in my hands. V'chalti pras, and what I did was, I consumed half of it. Shu nemon. In other words, he's saying that not that it was completely true. Look at Rashi. Maishna dashminan bekarka. Why do we have to mention the case of land that I had your father's land, I gave it back, but now I bought it from him? So the isach lemisnei ba'aviv mishum seifa linkon milsam metalton. May say the case of metalton lashmin b'di de gufe. And talk about him himself. Says Rashi, Neman midiraisabul shua. Okay. So that was the case before. Velisni moeder mishua v'hechaltiv pras parativ chetziv. In other words, I paid back half. It says Rashi Dafiga the moeder mixes potter hoyav enu toivai. So in this situation, he should be believed without having to make a shibua, because again, it's a case of ein shor shal kafanacha. This person did not know that you owed the father any money. So therefore, it should be coming to tell you a bigger chiddush, that even though his modem and mixas, he'd still be potter from a shvua. The answer is a libdaman. So in this situation, the fact that you're even going to give half back, that's like being Mesha Baveda, because technically this man had no clue that you owed any money to his father, or now to him. So therefore, it's like found money. So again, he's saying, I borrowed 100 from your father, and I paid back 50 and owe you another 50. So since he could have totally denied the claim, so now that he said 50 zuz, we believe him without a shvua. And even if you would say shor shachal l'fanecha, that the son is initiating the claim, and our Mishnah is when ein shor shachal l'fanecha. Says Rashi, Mana le'aba b'yadcha enocha b'yadi elo chamishim dinner. Potter mishum shehu kameshim aveda. Umash mi'ina Rabbi Yeshua be'ein shor shachad v'afil shor shachad afad of nami neman. He would even be believed that the man himself came up to you. V'yili b'Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov kilo tava le'nami ha'omer shvu boy. Again, back to the more. V'yili b'Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov ha'omer shvu boy. He actually would say in this situation, you would need a shvuah. The sign, Rabbi Eliezer and Yaakov Omer Pamim Sh'adam Nishma Al Tainus Atzmo. Sometimes a person will have to make a shvuah on his own claim. Keitzad Madav Yicha Biyadi, that I owed $100 from your father via Chaltiv Pras. However, I paid him back 50, so I'm going to owe you another 50. Or is that Nishma? So in that case, he has to make a shvuah, which is the classical case of apparently a moed b'mixas hatayna. V'zeh shenishma tainus atzmo. This is the situation you have to make a shvuah even though you're the one that made the claim. No, the fact is that since you're the one that initiated the entire conversation, so therefore you should not have to make a shvuah because the other person is in shor shakal l'fanecha. He didn't even know about it. Rabbi Lezer and Yaakov leisli meishav levidu pater. It's hard to understand why would Rabbi Lezer and Yaakov require shvuah in this situation. Amarav, we have to understand the case a little bit differently. It's betainu katan. It's the situation of our case is where there's a claim by the katan. So in other words, fine. So the Omer Mar Einish Boyin Al Tainis Cheresh of the katan, but we don't make a shvuah based on the claim of a katan. So my katan gadol, no, he's really an adult. So my karli katan. The gabi milid aviv katan who, regarding his father's financials, he's as a katan, but really he's an adult. Who? So Yehalchi Tanis Atzma Tanis Acherimi. This is not you coming up with this claim. It's this gadol. Okay, fine. It's a katan. He doesn't really know his father's affairs, but the reality is it's not Tanis Atzma. It's Tanis Acherim. Remember, it's Tanis Acherim v'hoidas Atzma. The man was claiming something which he really has no knowledge about. He's like a katan, and there was hoidas Atzma. You admitted to the 50. And Taka, you could have almost denied the whole thing. That cool tanase. So for tomorrow, 1 second. Cool tanase tanasachem b'hadas atzmaninu. Every single time we have a case of moed mixus is that situation where someone is making a claim and you admit to half. El hacha b'd Rabbi came the Rome Rabbi. We find the famous Gemara, which we find in many places throughout Shas. Why is it necessary when you admit to half that you have to make a shvuah? Does chazaka enime is part of bifnei bal chayva? If someone does you a favor, then you're not going to just immediately deny. So if someone lent you $100, you're not going to say, no, you did not. That would be total chutzpah. A person would not have disrespect to someone who did someone a favor, which unfortunately maybe nowadays it's not such a double pashut. The person does things for us and maybe we're not so appreciative. The truth is he would love to deny the entire $100, so he wouldn't have to pay anything. So why doesn't he? Because a person's not going to be meis panav. You'd love to not have to pay a penny, but it would be chutz b'nayra to say such a thing to someone who lent you this money, as we continue the chesed beis. Ubakulhu by delay. So therefore, now that we're on that level, now he has to admit to something. He'd rather just admit to the whole thing. Yeah, I owe you a whole $100. So the delay, but he didn't. He only said, I only owe you half. Ki in order to push him off. In other words, he had $50 in his wallet, so he just wanted to give him the $50 now, so he'd leave him alone, and then eventually he'll pay him back the rest. The savar adahavili zuze until I get the money, paranale, I'll pay him back. Rahman Aimer Rami Shvuale. On that person, we want the shvua to be made. So let him admit to everything. Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov savar loshna boy veloshna bo veloshna boy veloshna bivno. It doesn't make a difference if we're talking about the person or the child. A person would not be meis panav, enu meis. You wouldn't be meis panav to the actual person who lent you the money, but you would also not be meis panav to the child of the person you borrowed money from. The hilchach, and therefore the din is like this: lav meishav aveda havi. Therefore, it's not considered to be a situation of meishav aveda, because since a person would not be meis panav to even the son of the person you borrowed money from, so you're definitely going to admit to something, and therefore that's why you're mechuyev to make a moed mixas atayna, however, a shvua. For Rabbanan Sarino, bo hu de enumeis, the person himself, you're going to show him respect, and you're not going to be disrespectful. You're certainly going to admit to something. Of bivnoi meis, but you would be meis to him completely. If it wasn't true, even if you owed this other guy $100, but it's his son. Who was the son? He was Yerush. He didn't work for this money. So you can rationalize. The fact that he wasn't meiz, which he could have denied the whole thing, could have been a kafar koil. So therefore, that din is that we say it's kameshav aveda. So therefore, the machlokas is dafka in a situation where you borrowed money from the father, and now the son is in the picture. Would a person be meiz panav to the son of the malva? So if you would be me'ez panim to the son of the malveh, so therefore because of that, the fact that you offered half, it must be you're being me'ez shivaved. Therefore you don't need to make a shvuah according to Rabban. No, the person would not be me'ez panim. So you really have to again admit to everything except again through moed and mixus. That's why you're doing because it's shtam. You're trying to push it off. So let's look at question 11. Manu of yicha biyad v'yachalti pras. I paid your dad half. Ha'im chayim shvuas moed and mixus umatam. So do you have to make a shvuah? So in this situation, you're potter mishum de meishav avedahu. Everyone holds this is a case of meishav aveda, and therefore you're going to be completely potter. The only situation, again, the machlokas, is in the situation we're dealing with the father. The father lending the money, and the son is the person who we're dealing with. Okay. Question TA2. Ben sheba b'tainis aviv. A son who comes with a claim of the father. So in this we say, this is TA2. So Rabbi Lezman Yanko Mechayev the Gam Bivnoi Enumeas, because you wouldn't be meis to him. Rabbanan, according to the Rabbanan, Einu Mechayev the Bivnoi Meas Vahavi Lekemesha Maveda. Fine. Fine. Weiter. Let's see the next Mishnah. Now, this is referring to the din of Kiyam Shtaros. Kiyam Shtaros, the Eidim verifying their signatures, which is a din de Rabbanan, because midaraisa you don't even need Kiyam Shtaros. So in this situation, this is another case of Peshas or Peshahitter. Why? Because the witnesses said, yes, this is our signature. We can verify this is our signature. However, we are forced to sign it. We'll see why they were forced. Ketanim hayinu, or kids, or psul edis hayinu, or puzzle edis of some sort. So in this situation, either we're relatives, or Masach Bakuvia, or gamblers, as the Gemara Rosh Hashanah talks about. So in this, the Mishnah says, Hari Eonim onim. They are actually believed to passel the star. Because they could have said nothing, and the star wouldn't have been good, because you need Kiyam Shtaros Midrabanan. And the fact that they came up and said, yes, this is our signatures, but we were invalid signatories at the time, we're going to believe them. However, let's say you have other witnesses outside of them that was their signature. Let's say you already had their verified signatures on a different document from, let's say, a different court. So therefore, their words mean nothing because we could have figured everything out on our own. So now that they say Anusam Hayinu Katanami and Psul, we do not believe them, which means that the document will be valid. The only time we believe them is if they say that they were coerced because of mamoin, which you're not supposed to sign, says Rashi. So in that situation, you're not going to be believed because you're basically saying that you're a Russia. You have no right to sign a document even though there was some coercion through money. That is inexcusable. And therefore, if they would say this, they're actually saying about themselves that anusim, that they really were invalid, and which therefore that would invalidate the document. However, anusim hainam achmas nafashis harayel nemanim. So we say, fakert. Lo shanu el shemra anusim hainam achmas mammon. Lo shanu, says Rashi, de'im ksav yadin yetzim makam acher. If let's say there was signatories from another place, the in mammon, we say we don't believe them if we have other signature from the other people, from their signature is verified in another place. The fact that the signature is verified in another location, that in itself is all you need. But in that situation, the only reason why we say that they're not going to be believed, but rather the document will be valid, is if it was machmas mammon. However, if let's say they would be able to, and the reason is by didi mammon, as Rashi says, the adam karbeitz al atzmo, you're considered to be close to yourself. You can't say something certainly which is derogatory about yourself to make yourself into a Russia. And therefore, because of that, saying that you're machmas mammon, you're saying you're a apostle, that you are bad, and we're not going to believe you because we already have documentation verifying that your signatures are accepted, and therefore your words of anusim hayinu don't mean anything. However, if it was because of dini nefashis, in which you are allowed to sign a document, even if it's a falsified document, in order to save your life, or bikoach nefesh, that you are allowed to do. So therefore, the din is hari elo nemanim. In that situation, Taki, you are going to be believed that you're a nusin, and therefore everything's fine. So Omer le Rava kol kamine. How is that possible? Kivin shehigin shuvin achezer magid. Doesn't make sense. And once you already made a statement, you shouldn't be able to go back and make another statement. It says Rashi Bishlam Areisha B'Shing Sav Yadan Yotzim Makamacher. I can understand the beginning of the Mishnah, which talks about a situation where there is no other signatures of yours that exist. There's been no verified signatures, and all of a sudden you come along, the Lai Samchinan, and we're relying on your words. Kul Chada Hagadahi. So everything is like one utterance. Everything was said at the same time. When you said that. So therefore, we had no idea whether or not this signature was whose these were and whether it was valid. So you come along and you say, yes, this is mine. However, I was an honest. So in that situation, you are going to be believed through Peshas or Pesha to Mata the Shar, and that's not going to be an issue of Kivin Shehigid. Avol Halcha says Rashi, we're not relying on your words. Your words don't mean anything because we already have verification through a document elsewhere that this is a fine star. So therefore, the question is, we should not believe you anymore. Maybe only if, let's say, they testified in Beis Din, then afterwards, after they dibor, they come and change their words. We do not say if you have words and then you have new words. However, if let's say the first words are not words, it's just a document. So the fact that you are retracting and saying, oh, no, this is actually a nusam hayinu, so then there should be an issue of kivin shegid shuvin chayzor magid, right? So maybe the key, therefore, when it comes to a star, maybe it's not an issue of kivin shegid shuvin chayzor magid because it's only by dibor. You have witnesses that are signed on the star. It's as though they're actually been examined in Beis Din, and therefore it's ki'il like they actually testified. So even if it's bishtar, there should still be an issue of kivin shegid shuvin chayzor magid. Ella kiyitmar reishitmar. Hare Eil Nemanim. When it says Hare Eil Nemanim, this is why I got confused originally, because this is the Maskana. When it says that they are believed, that to say that they're anusim, when they say an honest, we believe them because they're not making themselves into a rasha, because they're allowed to save their life to sign a document. Therefore, we believe them. We're going to stop there. So, when it comes to when do we believe them to passel the star, it's only if they say about themselves, it was dini nefashos. It was a life and death situation. We had no choice but to sign this document. Otherwise, they're going to kill us. So, therefore, the din is that it's what we say. We listen to their testimony. Masha'inkin, if they say, oh yeah, it was dini mominus, so a person's not allowed to say such a statement, which is the same thing as like being Masah. Psulim hayinu, or that kroivim, which is why Rashi is interesting. Rashi says kroivim in Masach Bakuvia. So Korov, you're not saying anything bad about yourself, but saying you're Masach Bakuvia is obviously an enemy issue of Gemara and Kedushin says. So therefore, you would maybe think that already is Edom and Rasha. So that's what we're saying. Well, Maskana is like this. In the Reisha, person says, yes, this is my signature. However, we were forced by gunpoint to sign this, so we believe them, and therefore the star is not good because that they did the right thing, and they're not Rishayim. Masha'in Kain, if they said, oh yeah, because we were coerced because of some bribe, right? Didi Mominus, so there we don't believe them because that they're basically saying bad things about themselves, and we don't say a person's going to allowed to make themselves into a Rasha. Okay, let's see maybe a couple more questions over here. Question 12. How are witnesses believed that this is our signature of Onusim Hayinu? This is actually also in Rashi. This is question 12. Kula Chadid Hagadahi. It doesn't really say it in the Gemara. It's Tachadi Dibor, but again, it's acceptable because it was within this span of time. Question TB 3. Bama nechura meir v'chachamim min emanim eidim loimer nusim hayinu be'engsav yedin yotzim amakam acher, which we did not yet do.